Porsche's PCM units have hard drives in them, and over time they are prone to failure. In this video I show you how to remove the PCM, remove the hard drive, clone it and put the new one back in. Welcome back to the channel, Project 981. This is a video about replacing the hard drive in the PCM unit. The PCM is Porsche Communication Management. It's the bit that sits in the middle of the cabin where you manage your music, car settings, navigation, phone calls and so on. From you they have an old-fashioned, as we now know them, spinning disk hard drive, and that can over time fail. So this is really about taking it out, making a copy of it onto a newer, in this case a solid state drive, putting the new hard drive into the unit, putting everything back in. I'm not particularly expecting it to be a faster drive. It's really an exercise in preventative maintenance and making sure that by having a newer drive in there we're not going to have an unplanned failure of the old drive, which is not something you want to have happen to you. So it's an exercise in taking some of the trim out, removing the actual unit from the dashboard, taking the hard drive out, copying it, put the new one in, putting everything back together again. So we'll see how that goes and make a start. So the tools we're going to need for this job are pretty straightforward actually. We are going to need to remove some trim down the centre tunnel, transmission tunnel if you will, and we've got two tool removal tools for that. Trim removal tools I should say. We've got a nice thin and broad one, a bit of leverage, and then a lollipop shaped one to get a little bit of a blanking plate out thereafter. The PCM unit itself is held in by 4 bolts effectively. They need a Torx, that's the star-shaped head Torx, that's a size 25. I've got my magnetic tray for the parts, we don't lose those. And then we're going to need to protect the dashboard around the PCM unit when it comes out. So I've got a couple of drying towels for that as well. And that should be everything we need. Right, off we go. So in the car. Basically what we need to do is remove this piece of trim, and it's sibling on this side, and those effectively are just popped on. We pop those off. That will reveal 4 bolts, studs, which hold the PCM unit into the dashboard. So once we take those off we can unscrew that. It should slide out fairly easily. So let's make a start doing that. Right, so we're going to use the broader and wider trim removal tool. I'm going to start on this side. So there are 6 press fit fittings, studs in here. We can just open this up here. I'm going to put this in. I'm going to work against the leather, all being well. Start here and just gently push out. There we go, one. You can kind of see them inside. That's not going. There we go. 2, 3. There they go, they are revealing themselves. Pull that back. We now have access to PCM. You can see we've got 4 screws, one here, one here, one here. Right, let's now protect this as much as we can. And undo these. Right, so that sort of size, very straightforward. Gosh, that's quite tight. There we go. Two. Three. Four. Right, let's pop that down there. Now, that's pretty much clear to come out, so yeah, that should now allow us to slide this unit out. Let's just see if we can coerce it out gently. There we go. So you should be able to see some movement there, and that's the unit 3. Now my next job will be to remove the fuse for the PCM, because we're going to take the hard drive out, and that potentially should produce an electrical incident. Who knows? I'll take the fuse out, we'll isolate this unit, so there shouldn't be any problems in doing that. So fuse is out. Fuse is a 25 amp fuse in the 981 Boxster Cayman, which actually comes out of the left hand side, or the off side, near side I should say, near side, left hand side in the UK. The fuse extractor, which is provided for us by Porsche, lives in the right hand side, or the offside fuse box. So that comes out that side. Anyway, 25 amp fuse is out. So with that done, we can gently pull this out, and what we're trying to do is access the top of the unit where the hard drive is, which is here. That's sitting really nicely on my towel. That's great, that's nice and stable, so we can work with that. Okay, this looks like it torques. It looks like it's a bit smaller, so we've got our selection. I'm going to go with a 10. No, smaller than that. Let's try an 8. Okay, so that's torques 8 at this point. So we'll pop that in there, and we'll undo those. Fantastic. Now at this point, there is a seal, factory seal, across the drive unit, which the factory have put in there. So we're going to just snick that through with a knife, then we'll lift out the hard drive. Right, ready to lift this out now. And it's reasonably firmly in here, as you'd hope. So I'm just going to use the trim tool here just to lift up these tabs at the front. There it is. Up it comes. It's on a little hinge effectively. And if we want to, there we go, they're just tabs. So we now have the unit in its mount, and we have the SATA cable. Now there's two schools of thought here. The first is you can remove the hard drive from the mount, but I think it's fairly obvious that the easier thing to do is just to very gently remove the cable. And we'll do that again, just very gently encouraging it up with our tool. And that's come out, and it's taken the clip with it, but that's fine, we can manage that. Yeah, good. Okay, so that's now out, taking care to keep that piece. So the next job is to go and clone the drive. So I've come indoors to do this. I've bought from the lovely internet a SATA remote dock for 2.5 and 3.5 inch drives, and at the back I've loaded the original PCM Porsche hard drive made by Toshiba, as it happens, and the front I've loaded my new SSD. I bought one from Crucial Micron, so that's normally 120 gigabytes, that's 240. The way this generally works is you need the new drive to be of a larger capacity than the old drive, the original drive. So those are loaded up, and I will now clone. I make a copy of that onto that. The lights are flashing, things are happening. Now we wait. While the unit is out, I've taken the opportunity, as you might have gathered, I quite like a bit of a clean. So you just very gently hoover out the dust from around here, very carefully just getting in there, taking care and being mindful of the fact we've got some sensitive electronics in here. I've also, not that I'm planning to do this again, I've put a tiny amount of grease on each of these, the female part of the clip along the edge there, which you can see in purple, and that should just ease the job of pushing them back in. If they do need to come out again, they should come out a little bit more easily and reduce the risk of breaking the tabs. Otherwise it's all fine in there, so that's all looking good. Ready to put the hard drive back in. So here's the new hard drive, cloned from the original, back in the chassis for the mount, back into PCM. There's the ribbon. Let's get that in the car. Right, we're back in the car. We have PCM unit, new drive, ready to go back in here, and then we can start putting everything back in. So I'll crack on with that. Right, ribbon reconnected, ribbon holder pushed down, plate or the chassis just back in there, and we've just lowered that down so that's nice and snug. So with that done, everything's looking good on top here. We need to put the two screws back in that hold this in place, and we'll do that with the smaller. We'll just start those by hand, and then we'll make sure we haven't cross-threaded them by doing them in reverse until they bite. There we go, that's spinning nicely, and we'll just do that one too before we tighten them up. There we go, that's nice. Right, so we're just going to make sure it's really well seated. Yep, that's good. Now these were fairly tight. Everything on cars is tight so they don't rattle. Up, there we go. That's nice. Nip that up. Okay, that's good. So by this point in the exercise, we've got a complete copy of the hard drive, the original hard drive, onto a new solid state drive, which we've reinstalled on the back of the PCM. So from this point on, it's kind of what we did to start with in reverse. So it's pushing this unit back in and then putting the screwing it in, bolting it back in, and then simply putting the two pieces of trim on by the side. So let's do that. Great, well that's gone back in nice and easy, isn't it? So carrying on, screw it up, panels back on. Right, slight delay for reasons which I should explain later, but the PCM unit itself is now in. and all that is left to do now is put the trim pieces back on, put the fuse back in, see if it works. So head torch on for this because it's a bit dark. I need to see what I'm doing. Right, I'm going to start with this one, which I magically have above me. So the trick is to get everything back in the way it came out, really. The hook, get the bottom hook in like that. That looks good. What are we doing wrong here? That's it, there we go. Superb. Lovely, that's all in. Right, thank you head torch. And so, the magic moment. Let's find the car key, which is somewhere. There it is. Let's power it up. Position 1. Turn off the fan, turn off the parking sensor. Let's press the button. So here we go. Fantastic, look at that. Porsche crest comes up. Local radio station, Boxster GTS. That's good. Let's just jump straight to info. And that all looks great. What else have we got in here? Yeah, let's just do the quick check for versions, which is that. And yeah, great. We've got a up-to-date system that's all working, PCM 3.1. So that looks like it's job done. I'm really happy with that. Come out of there. Serial numbers all correct. So it looks like it has done a complete clone of my old hard drive, which is perfect. So the reason for my slight delay in getting this finished off is because I actually also did an update to the PCM software itself, and that included an update to the mapping database. So I can now see, for example, I live just east of Cambridge, and there is a road west of Cambridge, the A14, which now appears on my map, which didn't appear before. That's great. And if I want confirmation of that, I can just do source and info to give you my current system version, which is now version 4.76, which I think is the latest, which is to say the final firmware update for PCM 3.1. So PCM 3.1 is the hardware, and version 4.76 is what we've got installed on that. So that looks good. I'm happy with that. The clone disk is working perfectly, no problems whatsoever with that. We've had no error messages, there's nothing in the dash. So it looks like it's gone to plan. So I'll just finish pretty much tidying this up, and that should be job done. So there we go, all done. The Boxster's back in the garage, the PCM is back in the dash with a hard drive, and job's been a good one. So quick recap, we took the PCM, or we took the trim panels off the side of the sensor tunnel, PCM out of the dash, hard drive out of the PCM, separated that from its chassis, cloned it or copied it to a new solid state drive, a new hard drive in effect, put that back into the PCM, and then put the PCM back in the dash, trim panels back on. And the reason it's dark outside is because when I had the unit PCM effectively partially rebuilt back in the dash and the fuse back in, I took the opportunity to do a software update. So PCM 3.1 is kind of the physical version, it's the physical product, if you will. The firmware, so the software that operates it, the base software, went from 4.75 to 4.76. Now I've no idea what that adds, but it's been updated. It also meant at the same time I could update the mapping database for the navigation module that my car also has. So that's added 7 years worth of new roads. The original database dated 2015 the latest one, 2022, 23, take your pick. And I can see some roads I know exist now on the screen which didn't previously exist, so that's great. Now if you're not bothered by that and you're happy using Waze on your phone, great. I do kind of like having the latest version. I find them perfectly good. Anyway, that's by the by. So it's kind of been a preventative maintenance exercise today. Those hard drives, the original disks, do fail, and hopefully the new SSD is less likely to, having no moving parts, if nothing else. So that's been great. Now if you've got any questions or comments, do please stick them below and I'll do my best to answer them. Quite enjoy a bit of chat on those. If you're interested in doing it yourself, if you've got any questions, do ask below particularly. If you've enjoyed it, please do give us a thumbs up, and if you've enjoyed this as part of the series Project 981 and would like to know when the next video is published, do subscribe to the channel as well. That really helps me and you'll get to know when I've done the next video. So in the meantime, once again, thank you for watching. See you for the next one.